As the credits continue to roll, I'm gonna start with the big one. Please welcome Regan Linton. Thank you so much for being here. Please welcome her co-director, Brian Malone. Thank you so much, Brian. And I'm excited to have here Gregg Mozgala, who is biggest highlight at ReelAbilities, I think, was Enter the Fawn. Most recently played Richard in Teen Dick at the Public Theater, which got a fantastic review, and has his own theater company too, and a lover of good barbecue food too, I'd say. It's dinosaur barbecue the last time we saw each other. I'll hand it over to you. I'll just also give one quick thanks. I neglected to mention Shayna Davis, our volunteer coordinator, who do amazing work with us at this festival. Thank you, Shayna. Over to you, Gregg. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, everyone. Thank you both. Really, Brian, lovely. So glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So all right, we'll just dive right in. So full disclosure, Regan and I have known each other for about 10 years. And I'm just so moved right now by that film. It always catches me by surprise that I actually this Heart of Stone can but it was really, really incredible. And this question was all over the film in various myriad ways, but I just want to hear it articulated from your perspective, and Brian, feel free to chime in. But why do you think places like this, like ReelAbilities, why do you think places like family are so essential and important? Yeah, I'm going to start with the softballs.
Technology. Okay, there we go. I guess I'll start from the place of family was founded by 5 actors with disabilities who felt like they had nowhere to perform because either physically they couldn't get into a space or attitudinally they didn't feel welcome in a space. So they formed their own theater company. And I think that just illustrates right there what it is that, if there are folks in our community, in our human community, in our disability community who don't feel like they have a place and don't have a welcoming, safe space where, again, the barriers can be removed so people can do their best work, then that's what necessitates a place like family. But I think family operates under a lot of different principles and values that can be applied anywhere and everywhere. So hopefully it's just a ripple effect until we kind of see that expand more broadly. Yeah.
And it's a great story, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, right. That segues into my next question, actually. It's always fascinating to me, having been part of a documentary myself that Isaac mentioned was at this very festival. It was a 2-month process, long, like the rehearsal process was 2 months.
3, actually.
3.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I thought I heard 2 months, right? But then even more beyond that of like preparing for the show and all that goes into it. So it's always fascinating to me how
like 7 if you go all the way back to opening calls to cattle calls,
Right. Condensed into, what was this, 76 minutes or
87, I think.
87, I'm sorry. Yeah, right. So, right. So can you talk about, I know you work together on this, but again, like, I can get into the various levels of drama in the piece, but can you talk a little bit about the structuring, the narrative structuring process within the editing and how you decided to capture it all? I just would love to hear you speak more on that.
I have a really, really, really big monitor, and I like to lay things out in one big long line so I can see everything, and then we just kind of like chop it up. We watched everything. We watched it was like 80 hours plus worth of footage that we just watched. That was one good thing about COVID, is that we had some time. So Regan came down, she camped out in the basement studio, and we watched a lot of raw footage, and through that, we just kind of pulled some selects here and there, and things kind of just popped up, little moments. They weren't even stories. We didn't even know how they were going to fit together, but we just knew that there was something special about those little moments. And as those things kind of revealed themselves to us, we kind of put them aside, moved on to the next batch of footage. And, then you kind of start connecting the dots at some point, like this storyline is connected to this person, and they have like kind of a natural story arc, and it kind of builds itself after that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, we knew going in, family and this community of individuals is very compelling. It always is, and any family process is fascinating. So we knew we would probably get something, but we had no idea what that was going to end up being. And
Just that it was going to be good.
Right. Yeah. And so very cinema verite style, we followed people around. And then as we were going through that editing process, it kind of revealed itself. But I will say, we felt strongly that we could have done a 10-part series and still could, if anybody wants to pay for that. But, because there's so much. I mean, there were, again, 80 hours of footage of everyone in that play, everyone in, backstage, everyone in the process has their own unique, interesting story that warrants a 78-minute film. So, but we, you got to draw the line somewhere.
Sure. I mean, I loved how, you have the sort of arc of like getting to opening night, right? And like, will the show happen and will it be successful, right? But which is in that kind of story arc is dramatic in its own right. And we've seen it a lot, in popular culture and in stories. But then you have this, because of these communities, right? Because of this population we're working with, you have this, not only the just personal human drama, but the drama of, I hope I don't fall, or the lights, right? Just like stuff like that, which I just love that those things were in there, right? That is inherently dramatic to being disabled, right? On top of the drama of theater, right? And everything that goes in with that. I just really, really love that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, often for non-disabled folks who are working in theater, film, any of these artistic disciplines, there's this air of mystery about how it works for us, which often is the reason that people will give for not including us. And I think to dispel some of that mystery, to show that, there are those things that are going on that are unique to each person, but it doesn't stop the process. We all figure out a way. And one of the most extraordinary pieces of family is the interdependence, where everybody, we start at the beginning of every process, we take a lot of time for each person to go through. I mean, talking multiple days where people go through and talk about what they need in the space, what they can use from other people. And that immediately sets up so that it's not just one person in the room who's looking out. It's not just the stage management team. It's not just a director. It's everybody looking out for each other. And therefore that helps the entire process to move more smoothly. And then people also take responsibility for themselves. And that was a large piece that the family founders emphasized from day one of forming the company, was you have to show up being ready to take responsibility for yourself. So I think it's just good to dispel that, put that up there, but also show that but they keep going, they keep doing it. It doesn't get in the way of the process.
Right, absolutely. I mean, again, that was beautifully illustrated in, the young woman who played Roxy, leaving home, right? And like just doing it, right? Taking that step, right? And I just love that in ways both big and small, right? And that is not only interdependence, but independence, right? And like really in this great coupling, which I loved. So, so Regan, this is your first film, correct?
Yes.
Filmmaker. And you've been doing this for quite a while, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you just tell us about just that dynamic, right? And again, how did your working dynamic develop like throughout the process in terms of making this film? Can you just speak a little on that?
Sure. Can I just say, I'm fascinated right now with the captioner on the side of the room. She's the most talented person in this room, isn't she? She's on it. Everything I say comes right out here.
Mm.
I say something here, comes out there. That's cool.
You heard it here, folks. Access is cool.
Anyway, nice job. I'll buy you a Coke later. What was the question?
Oh. I mean, I was just really interested in here, you know, the dynamic, how your dynamic developed in terms of first-time filmmaker and kind of seasoned experience.
It was great
Documentarian.
for me. I told her what to do, and she fought me every tooth of the way because she thought she knew what she was doing. No, I'm kidding.
Fat chance.
Yes. No, I don't know. I'm a little loopy, but
That's okay.
she's great. And Regan has a natural ability of storytelling, and I think that comes over from theater. You know, there's some very similar mechanics in producing theater as that translates fairly easily over into film. So, you know, it's a natural transition, and I appreciated working with someone who had that acumen that could, you know, understand the dynamics and the importance of a story. There were a few mechanical issues along the way that work well, that don't work well in film, that might work well in a theater environment. I wouldn't know where to begin on a theatrical stage, but I do know some things that went through, but it was actually a pretty delightful experience, which I will say was kind of a big departure for me, and a frightening departure for me in a way, because you know, when I make a film, I already know, like many filmmakers, you kind of know what the vision needs to be, and you know how you have to hit the mark. And it's kind of like profanity. You don't know exactly what it is, but you know what it is when you recognize it. And that's kind of like what filmmaking is. So anyway, I appreciate Regan's, you know, high skill level of storytelling, because that's really what it comes down to, no matter what the medium.
Likewise.
Great. Can I throw it to you all? Why not? Sure. I don't know if we have a mic for folks. Well, no, it's an access thing. Yeah. Remember, it's cool.
Thank you. Hi. I have kind of a nerdy question. I'm just curious about your rights and clearances process with showing so much Chicago, and at what point was that predetermined before you started production? Did you take a gamble? How did that work?
Would you like to rephrase the question in what we call the wrongs and clearances?
And does anyone here work for Sony? We're
Yeah.
clear? Okay.
Warner Chapel.
Let's just say we have an ongoing relationship with Warner Chapel. Here's the skinny. We wrote them a couple of letters. They did not respond. We hired an attorney to write them a letter. The attorney advised us to cut the film in such a way that it falls safely under fair use, which is our story, and we're sticking to it. What we've been told after 3 legal reviews is that while the film fits squarely under fair use, and for those of you that don't know what fair use is, it's you can use little bits and pieces of other people's copyrighted material as long as it's not the predominant part of the film, and it can be used safely to help tell your story, as long as people aren't confused or you feel like you're stealing that other rights holders material. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of fair use. What I've also been told, on the other side of the mouth of the same attorneys, was that they don't care until there's money on the table. And then we may hear from them. But right now in the festival world, where we're living under the radar, they're not going to waste their $500 an hour attorneys on our little film yet.
Yeah, we've been very mindful of that through the whole process. And when we were editing, we were very mindful of that and, you know, not just because of legal review, we were also just mindful of, we respect people's copyrighted material, you know, but we feel like this is an important story to tell with a new dimension on this material that is, you know, hopefully makes people want to go see Chicago on Broadway, right? Like maybe you're leaving and you're like, oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. You know, it's not going to pull people away from it. So again, we really wanted to, you know, engage with Warner Chappell and make sure that we were doing the quote unquote right way. And, you know, we'll see how that continues to unfold depending on how this film.
There
moves
is a
forward.
written record. And
Yes.
we have the timestamp date. So there is proof.
Another question? Hi, it's Sean, who was sitting right next to you, Regan. You already know that I would love to see you in Chicago at some point. But, you know, it was a big decision to leave family. And so I was wondering what was motivating you with that, if that's acting. I want to find out also, what are you doing now that you're doing your own work, and where can we come support you?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, it was a very difficult decision. I mean, as I mentioned, I kind of took a detour from what had been my professional acting career to go back to work at Family for what was supposed to be a year and then ended up being 5 because the company was not in a good position when I got back, and I, you know, felt compelled to stay until it was in a better position. And I'm proud to say it is now.
So you saved the company.
Well, no, there were many people at play in that. But you know, I wasn't, that wasn't just a fake dramatic moment at the end when I was talking about when, you know, when Lucy died. She was one of my greatest idols, you know, as an actor, and so talented and always so supportive of every decision that I made in my acting career, you know. So I just felt like before I'm too old and decrepit and don't know what I'm doing, you know, like I better get back out there and do it. So I've relocated to Washington, D.C. area to be closer to family, closer to New York. And I'm working on some individual projects, including a project about FDR, where I would be playing FDR in drag, that kind of explores the nature of leadership with disability in the mix. So stay tuned on that. And then who knows, I'm leaving that up to the universe, I guess. Having some other conversations about potential other projects, you know, future films that about, you know, topics that I feel like still need to be covered in terms of the disability community. So we'll see. Yeah. Thank you for asking. And I hope to work with Gregg again soon. Gregg has been so lovely to bring me into a number of projects that the Apatite, his company, has done over the years. And I enjoy working with him a lot. So I hope there will be more of that.
I'm just glad you showed up. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else out there? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, could you tell us a bit more about the company itself? I mean, how did the theater, I mean, it's an amazing piece that's been put together to have a company devoted to this in its own building with, you know, remarkable assets to it. Like, where do you get the, you know, where does the funding come from? Is there a kind of regular crew in the company of actors, or are you always starting de novo when you're doing a production? Just some of that background.
Is there any other company like that?
Right.
Yes, thank you for that question, because really when it comes down to it, the true magic of this film is family. So PHAMALY.org. It is a company, again, that was founded by disabled actors for disabled actors. There are other companies that are similar to it, Apatite being one of them, that work at a very high professional level. The one thing, family is somewhat unique in the landscape in that there are 3 different things. One, that it is all disabled actors, so it's not an integrated company. All of the acting opportunities on stage are specifically for actors who have disabilities. Number 2, that it's all disabilities, so it's not specific to one type of disability. There are deaf actors, there are actors with cognitive, intellectual disabilities, physical disabilities. And then 3, that it's a company that predominantly does re-envisions works that are main stage shows. So everything from Fiddler on the Roof to Our Town to Urinetown to, anything you can think of. There is they do original work and sometimes disability specific work, but it's really more about saying we are actors, we are performers, we can do any of those roles that you see on Broadway. So that's kind of what keeps Family unique. It's been around for 32 years now. Because it's in Denver, I think it kind of gets, it's like, oh, that's really far away, but they've been pretty groundbreaking in terms of leading the field in this way, along with some other companies that are also very groundbreaking. So, and they are coming to New York in May. They're bringing a production of Spitfire Grill out to Queen's Theater for a Queen's Theater Festival. So I highly recommend if you get the opportunity to go out and check them out. And if you're in Denver, they're doing Rocky Horror Show this summer. So that's going to be interesting. But truly, I highly recommend checking them out. It is a, over time, I think as this idea of inclusion, access, and gets it starts being implemented more broadly. There are people who have been doing it for a long time. They're the originals, and the kind of elders of the work. And there are definitely elders in family who have been doing the work for a long time and really can offer a lot in terms of leading those processes elsewhere. In terms of funding, they are like all nonprofits. It's a nonprofit. So like all nonprofits, it takes a lot of different sources, everything from government funding, individual donations, ticket sales, or 5 Buckets fundraisers, and grants. So it's it's complex, as any leader of a nonprofit theater company knows. You need a lot of buckets. That's kind of. And I think their budget falls now around $800,000 a year.
And they've been how long has the company been around? Several decades.
In 1989. So the year before the ADA was passed, that's when Family was founded.
Very cool. In full disclosure, I'm the director of inclusion at Queen's Theater in Flushing Corona Park. So, well, thank you. I applaud having a job as well. And so our family will be featured as part of a national performing arts festival. So we'll have performances all over the country. So theater, dance, music, new plays, et cetera, et cetera. So that's happening in May. So come check that out if you can. Watch the space. But we're happy to. So Ben Ronan is a gentleman who is family's new artistic director, and he'll be coming in as Regan. Sam Barrasso, who was featured. She was the young woman in the relationship with Adam that went sour, but she'll be in the production and several others. But we're very excited to have them here. The weekends of May 13th and May 20th, and I believe the festival will open with Omnium Circus. And the first weekend, and which is an integrated circus troupe, and the second weekend opens with Family on the main stage, but we also have all kinds of acts. So we're getting the press release out soon, so that'll happen. But yeah, Family will be there.
And I will just put in a plug also that one of our longtime actors, Jenna Bainbridge, is currently performing in Suffs at the Public Theater. So again, it's a company that has also led folks, been a pipeline where there are very few pipelines often to train actors and get them out working professionally far and beyond. So, yeah.
Fantastic. How are we doing on time?
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
We'll take it right then.
Yeah, I just want to say, really wonderful show, movie, everything. And I loved all of the characters. So I just want to know, did Adam find somebody? I'm just rooting for him. So did it work out with anybody?
He's available.
Oh, okay.
I have his number.
Adam is from New Jersey originally, and I feel like his life follows like a Bruce Springsteen-esque thing where he's like on the road and like, constantly kind of longing and seeking. And so, but yes, he is available, as Brian said. As
And
far as we know.
Carr here has attended more screenings than anyone else this year, so she gets the right to the last question.
All I have to say is you guys, you're tiring. And, you have so much energy, to do this and patience. I don't know how you did it. It's hard enough when you have non-disabled actors. But with disabled actors, we have some things that aren't as easy to accomplish. But I'm just amazed at this. And I just loved it. I love Chicago, so.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Mazel
Yeah,
tov.
Mazel tov.
Well, and I will quote Leonard Barrett truly, because I think what he says is the truth, that the bottom layer of it is love. And that's where it all comes from. And that's how everybody gets the energy to do it and the support. And yeah. Love of the craft, love of each other, love of life, all of the above. Yeah.
What's next for the film?
Going to Florida tomorrow. And we'll see what happens after that. We're doing our best, level best to try to get it out to a bigger audience. Don't know what that means yet. It's funny because the business side of this can be so heartbreaking. You think you have something really special, and then you get a form letter, and we've all gotten them, and we're getting them, but it's all right. We don't know yet. Don't know, but stay tuned.
Yeah, and I'll just add, multiple film festivals. We're really proud that it's gotten accepted into the American Film Showcase, which is the U.S. Department of State's film diplomacy program, where they take films all over the world to American embassies to kind of foster education, awareness, and all those sorts of wonderful things. And oh shit, there was one other thing I was going to say about it, but I don't. Oh, just that, we are exploring a different model of intentionally kind of bringing the film to different communities, and very much, looking to potentially find some supporters of that so that we could offer to, whether it's a rehab hospital, whether it's a JCC, to say, hey, we'd like to bring the film and, bring some of the actors with it or the creators, or theaters, and talk about these principles of inclusion and access in very concrete ways. So we're looking at doing that and finding some support for being able to offer those for low or no cost. So we'll see.
We're proud to have this at ReelAbilities, and I feel that this film can play mainstream completely. We don't even have to talk about the disability. We can talk about just good storytelling. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Gregg. Thank you for leading this conversation. Folks, thank you for being a part of this. We will be doing more year-round, so please join us for more. Of course, we'll be happy to share information about the theater festival as well.